Hello Yu-Gi-Oh players and welcome to Yu-Gi-Oh! And Business Casual. I am your host, the YGOBC, and today I am going to begin an ongoing discussion of Lord of Tachyon Galaxy. Now I understand that I am a wee bit late on this, by which I mean I'm really late, and the vast majority of Yu-Gi-Tubers have already given their discussions on a lot of the cards that I'm going to be talking about in the next few weeks, but I realize that I am not going to be the first one to break this news to you. I'm not exactly the fastest or most well-informed person in the world, but what I decided to do is to wait for the OCG to play around with the cards a little bit, see what they do, and then I can give you guys a more accurate analysis of how these cards actually work instead of just relying on Theorio. So today I'm going to weigh in on some of the most hyped up discussions that are going on surrounding Lord of Tachyon Galaxy, and then I'm going to move on to attempting to do justice to my wild and extreme newfound love of Mind Crush, and then I'm going to compare it to a similar card that is coming out in Lord of Tachyon Galaxy, and then I'm going to wrap it all up with a quick channel update, and then I'm going to let you guys go for the night. So the first thing I want to talk about, well, I really don't want to talk about it, I don't even want to acknowledge that it exists, is Divine Judgment of the Spellbooks, or Spellbook Judgment Day, or whatever the hell Konami is going to call this massive fucking abomination. Konami, we need to have a talk. What the hell do you think you're doing? Is somebody in your crew like nostalgic for the prices of Teledad and the gameplay style of Six Samurai with 3 gateways? Because that's what I'm seeing here. Was it not enough to you guys that Prophecy is expensive as it is? Was it not enough to you guys that 3 of the 5 best cards of the deck are secrets and the other 2 are ultras? No, I don't think you guys were even thinking about the fact that you guys were going to be making tons of money because, well, that's pretty much what this is. It's a money-making scheme, and I sincerely hope it doesn't work. Because this card is just badly created. You guys didn't even think about this. Because not only is this card like Gateway, it's even better than Gateway. It doesn't just allow you to play a bunch of monsters and replenish your hand and keep playing monsters. What it does is it allows you to use up your entire hand without really any kind of, well, judgment is the irony, any judgment of, you know, what would be a smart thing to do. No, you just run off your entire hand with the guarantee that you are going to plus at the end of the turn. So you could just, you know, not even think about it. You could just be like, I'm just going to throw out a Spellbook of Fate out there, banish something, power up my Priestess with power, maybe waste my Spellbook of the Master and giving my Priestess another power, or whatever the hell you want, and you're going to plus at the end of the turn. And I suppose, yeah, they made it so that you couldn't add Judgment to your hand with Judgment. Oh, wait, except for the fact that they basically gave you an engine to do it anyway. Yeah. You can summon Justice of Prophecy from your deck with Divine Judgment, and then Justice of Prophecy can add Divine Judgment to your hand along with a Priestess. It's not like they were even trying with this. Are they not merciful? They made it a once per turn deal. And also there's the fact that they pretty much made this card to be based in a tier 0 format, because not only is it good for your spellbooks, where they made it a quick play spell that works on your opponent's spell cards too. So not only can you run off your entire hand and get it replenished at the end of the turn, you can play it on your opponent's spell cards and get a plus off of your opponent's cards. It's like they were planning on having basically every match be the mirror match against Prophecies, which leads me to believe that really this is just a massive money-making scheme, but there is hope. This card may be stupid and it may be ridiculous, but the clever OCG has come up with a solution in the form of a rare from Star Strike Blast or D-Rev, or I don't even remember what it was, in the form of Droll and Lockbird, which is an interesting little level 4 hand trap, which basically what happens is you discard it from your hand when your opponent adds a card to their hand, and they can't add cards to their hand for the rest of the turn. Now, it would be nicer if this could negate the card that would add to their hand, but I'm not going to ask for too much because this is really helpful against Prophecy. What basically you can do is they activate their Spellbook of Secrets and they add a Magician to your hand, and you can just discard this card and they can't use that Magician for the rest of the turn, which gives you time to set up your plays, and it slows that deck down considerably. Not to mention, if they activate their Spellbook their Divine Judgment, and then they activate their secrets, you know that discarding that Draw and Lockbird will make that Spellbook Judgment a 1-for-1 instead of a massive plus, and that's great. But really, anybody who says that Divine Judgment is not absolutely broken is an idiot, and I'd like to direct them to Shriek, where a very interesting phenomenon has happened, whereby at the beginning of the month, half of the month, you see, occasionally a Spellbook deck topping, because, it's a solid deck as it is right now. But then Lord of Tachyon Galaxy comes out, and the day after, I kid you not, look for yourself, the day after there's a regional tournament where Prophecy has every single top slot. This deck is going to be worse than the new Inzectors because it's going to cost up to like $1,500, if not maybe more. So I'm kind of pissed about this if you guys haven't noticed, but let's move on. The other thing I want to talk about from Lord of Tachyon Galaxy today, I have to make this quick, I don't have a whole lot of time, is the Suppressor Dragon archetype. Now, a lot of people in the TCG, or in America, or on YouTube, or whatever, have this opinion that this deck is going to be Tier 1. Now, I am skeptical about that, and that's A, because the OCG has not seen a lot of tops from the Elemental Suppressor Dragon deck, whatever, but also the fact that I've been testing it out since it came out on DN, and I'm discovering that it requires a lot more grave setup than is viable this format. Not only is it extremely vulnerable to Macrocosmos, but it also is very slow. You have to chalk your graveyard full of dragons in order to get any field presence, and although they hold a lot of card advantage on their own, they can't really get any monsters going on the field, and I think that's a problem. What you're going to see, and what you're already seeing in the OCG, is that any deck with an elemental base can be supplemented with the elemental dragons. You're seeing with Laval and Dragoonity in the OCG. What you can do with Dragoonity is you can discard Windrose, or not Windrose, sorry, that's for another discussion. Tempest from your hand with Dragon Ravine and add, like Ducks or something to your hand, and then that Tempest can be special summoned at the end after you do your crazy synchro plays from your graveyard, and it's excellent. You can also discard it with something to get your Phalanx to your hand, and there are just a lot of cool, crazy combos you can use with Dragoonities. There's also a great thing that you can do with Blaster and Lavels that turns it into more of a control deck and allows you to actually play the game while you're waiting for your Quasar play. So there are a lot of good things that you can do by supplementing other elementally based decks with the Elemental Dragons, but for now, I don't think that they're very viable as a pure deck. Now, I want to move on to Mind Crush, because I don't have a lot of time, as you can see. I keep looking at the clock. Mind Crush is the card that I am going to use here, this is my cat, as a replacement for Warning this format. And I think it can actually be better than Warning this format. So, one of the big things about spellbooks and about Prophecy is not only the fact that you can search out a ton of stuff, which Mind Crush is good against already, but you could also get around Raya with Priestess because her effect to summon herself is an ignition effect, not a summoning condition, which means she has to reveal herself in the hand in order to activate her effect, which means that as soon as you do that, your opponent reveals it and you can activate Mind Crush and discard her from your hand where it isn't under the jurisdiction of Spellbook of Wisdom. And I think that's really cool, especially since imagine your opponent has a Priestess in their hand and they think that they can go for game that turn. They reveal their 3 Spellbooks or whatever, and you activate Mind Crush, and you end up discarding 2 Priestesses from their hand. You go +1 with the Mind Crush. What are they going to do? They can go for life, but you can respond to life with MST. I believe that stops the effect. You can also, if you have 2 Mind Crush, which is much more likely with Mind Crush at 3, you can activate the Mind Crush and take out the Priestess, and then chain that Mind Crush and take out their Spellbook of Life. So I think that Mind Crush is going to be amazing against Prophecy. I also think that it's going to be very good against Mermail Atlanteans because they reveal those cards from the Megalo, which is also an ignition effect, and you can discard it from their hand. It's a really great way to stop plays against Fire Fist because when they activate Tenki and add a Fire Fist monster from their deck to their hand, that means that they really want that monster at the moment, and they have a good reason for getting it, which means that activating Mind Crush will ruin that play for them that turn. And it's a great way to stop plays. The issue with it that I see is the fact that once monsters are on the board already, top decking it is not that great, but but I think there are ways to work around that. I think that Mind Crush is going to be one of the most important cards of the format for people who want to take down the meta. The card I want to compare it with is a card from Lord of Tachyon Galaxy called Mind Drain. Now, what Mind Drain does is your opponent, it's just like Skill Drain, that is continuous effect, and you have to pay 1,000 for it. Your opponent cannot activate monster effects from their hand, which means that if you play it against a Mermail deck, they can't activate Megalo, they can't activate Teus, and they can't activate Lead, which is spectacular against them. Because if you can't run, Macro or Soul Drain, then you can run this card, and it basically stops their plays in their tracks, and my cat's butt is in the way. It's not actually my cat, I am pet sitting for him. So this card is definitely something to look out for. I really like Mind Crush better because it works on things like spell cards, anything that's searchable. But if you're playing against the Mermail deck and you can't run that Macro, you can't run that Soul Drain, then I think that Mind Drain is definitely a way to go. I am already late to what I need to go to, and I need to toss the cat off, but I want to quickly update my channel. There are a couple of things coming up in the near future for me. I'm going to be accelerating my deck making process so that I have a lot more deck profiles for you guys in the future, and I think that I'm actually going to move those and a couple of big openings to their own segment and leave discussions and deck reviews to Yu-Gi-Oh! And Business Casual, this segment that you're watching right now. So I want to remind you guys to go out there and get some subscribers for me, because it is not until 100 subscribers that I can give away those special edition boxes and packs. So you should look forward to that and really get out there. If you have any suggestions for getting my name out there, it would be really nice to be making videos for more than like 60 people. So that is my discussion for the day. On Thursday, I am going to be doing my deck review for Blackwings. I'm going to be looking at these new Synchro monsters from Judgment of the Light, and I'm going to be pointing out a couple of new cards from Lord of Tachyon Galaxy that you're going to want to look out for. So until then, this is the RJB0 signing out once I can start my computer again. I really need to get better at this. See you guys later.